Never ignore a whisper in an empty house, especially when it knows your name. I learned that the hard way. At 68 years old, I thought I had seen everything. I was wrong. My name is May, and for 15 years I lived alone in the house my husband built before he died. A big house, 4 bedrooms, long hallways, creaky floors, the kind of place that makes sounds at night. Normal sounds, or so I thought, until 3 months ago, when those sounds started calling my name. This is the story of how I discovered I wasn't as alone as I believed, and how the truth was far worse than any ghost. It started on a Tuesday, March 14th. I remember because it was my grandson's birthday, and I had spent the whole day baking his favorite chocolate cake. The house smelled sweet, warm, safe. I went to bed at 10:30, same as always. Read 3 chapters of my book, turned off the light, closed my eyes. That's when I heard it. May. Soft. Barely a whisper. Coming from somewhere in the hallway. My eyes shot open, heart pounding. I sat up in bed and listened. Nothing. Just silence. Just the wind outside. Just my imagination playing tricks on an old woman living alone. That's what I told myself. I lay back down, pulled the covers up to my chin, closed my eyes again. This time, longer, slower, definitely coming from the hallway. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and got out of bed with shaking legs. I walked to the door, opened it slowly. The hallway was empty, dark, cold. I checked every room, every closet, every corner. Nothing, no one. The doors were locked, windows closed, security system armed. I was completely alone, but I heard it. Clear as day. Someone whispered my name. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in bed with all the lights on, watching the door, listening, waiting. Nothing happened. When morning came, I felt ridiculous, tired, paranoid. Old age was making me hear things that weren't there. Or so I convinced myself. I made coffee. Hate breakfast! Called my daughter Emma to wish my grandson a happy birthday. I didn't mention the whisper. She would worry. She would want me to move in with her. I wasn't ready for that. This was my house, my home, my independence. But that night, it happened again. Same time. 10:30? I was in bed reading when the lights flickered. Once, twice, then steady again. Electrical problem, I thought. Old house, old wiring. Then I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, walking down the hallway, coming toward my room. My blood turned to ice. I grabbed the phone, finger on the emergency call button. The footsteps stopped right outside my door. I stared at the handle, waiting for it to turn, waiting for someone to burst in. Nothing. Just silence. Then the whisper. May. I know you're in there. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped the phone. I wanted to scream, wanted to call 911, but my voice was frozen in my throat. The footsteps walked away, slowly, back down the hallway. I heard a door close somewhere in the house. I stayed in bed until sunrise. Didn't move, didn't sleep, just listened. When morning came, I checked every door in the house, all locked from the inside. No signs of forced entry, no broken windows, nothing. I checked the security footage on my phone. Nothing. The cameras showed empty hallways, empty rooms, no footsteps, no person. Just me, alone in the house. Was I losing my mind? Was this dementia? Alzheimer's? My mother had it in her final years. She heard voices, saw people who weren't there. Was this my turn? I called my doctor that morning and made an emergency appointment. Dr. Morrison had been my physician for 20 years. She knew my medical history inside and out. I told her everything. The whispers, the footsteps, the feeling of being watched. She ran tests, cognitive function, memory, neurological exams, blood work, everything. The results came back 3 days later. I was fine. Completely healthy, no signs of dementia, no neurological issues, sharp as ever. She said, "Then what was happening to me?" Dr. Morrison suggested stress, grief, loneliness. She said the mind can play tricks when you live alone for too long. She recommended therapy, maybe some light medication to help me sleep. I thanked her, took the prescription, but I didn't fill it, because deep down, I knew what I heard was real. I wasn't imagining things. Someone was in my house, someone who knew my name, someone who walked through locked doors and disappeared from security cameras. That weekend, I invited my neighbor Patricia over for tea. Patricia was 75, sharp as a knife, and had lived on this street for 40 years. She knew everything about everyone. If something strange was happening in the neighborhood, she would know. We sat in my kitchen drinking chamomile tea when I casually mentioned the strange sounds at night. Her face went pale. "You hear them too?" she whispered. My heart stopped. "What do you mean too?" She leaned closer, looking around as if someone might be listening. 3 other people on this street have reported the same thing. Whispers, footsteps, always at night, always when they're alone. She told me about Mrs. Chen, 4 houses down, who heard breathing in her bedroom. About Mr. Rodriguez across the street, who woke up to find his furniture rearranged. About young Sarah at the corner, who saw a shadow standing at the foot of her bed. All of them living alone. All of them hearing their names whispered in the dark. "Did they call the police?" I asked. Patricia nodded. "Police came. Found nothing. Told them it was probably animals in the walls or old house sounds. But we know better. This neighborhood has a history. A history. I had lived here for 15 years and never heard about any history." Patricia pulled out her phone and showed me old newspaper articles. From 1987, a man named Edward. Finch lived 3 blocks away. He was a plumber, friendly, quiet. Everyone liked him. What they didn't know was that Edward had keys to half the houses in the neighborhood. He made copies whenever he did repairs. For years, he would enter homes at night while people slept. He would stand in their bedrooms, watch them, whisper their names, move things around. He got caught when a woman woke up and saw him standing over her bed. Police found 43 copied keys in his house. 43 families he had been visiting at night. Some for years. The neighborhood never recovered from the scandal. People moved away. New families moved in. But the fear remained. The story got buried, forgotten, until now. "You think someone is doing the same thing?" I asked. Patricia shrugged. "I don't know. But I do know that Edward Finch died in prison 6 months ago, and these whispers started right after." A chill ran down my spine. Was this a copycat? Someone inspired by Edward's crimes? Or was it something worse? That night, I prepared. I didn't get into bed. Instead, I sat in the closet of my bedroom, with the door cracked open. I had a clear view of my bedroom door. I held a baseball bat my husband used to keep by the bed. And I waited. 10:15. Nothing. 10:30. Still nothing. 10:45. I was starting to think maybe tonight would be different. Then I heard it. The front door. Opening. Slowly. Carefully. But I had locked it. I was sure of it. Footsteps in the living room. Walking slowly. Heading toward the stairs. My heart was pounding so loud I thought whoever it was would hear it. The footsteps came up the stairs. One at a time. Taking their time. They knew I was home. They knew where to find me. The footsteps stopped outside my bedroom door. I gripped the bat tighter. The door opened. Slowly, a figure stepped into the room, backlit by the hallway light. I couldn't see the face, but I could see it was a person. A real living person, not a ghost, not my imagination. The figure walked to my bed and stood there, looking down at the pillows I had arranged to look like a sleeping body. "May," the voice whispered. Male. Older. Familiar somehow. The figure reached out to touch the pillows. That's when I burst out of the closet. I didn't think. Didn't plan. Just acted. I swung the bat as hard as I could. It connected. A grunt. The figure stumbled backward. Fell. I flipped on the light and saw his face. It was Robert, my neighbor from 2 doors down, 72 years old, retired postal worker. The man who brought my mail when it was misdelivered. The man who helped me carry groceries. The man I had trusted for 15 years. He was lying on my floor, bleeding from his head, staring at me with wide, terrified eyes. "May, please, I can explain," he gasped. I grabbed my phone and called 911. "There's an intruder in my house. I've hit him with a bat. Send police and an ambulance." My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. Robert tried to get up. I pointed the bat at him. "Don't move. If you move, I'll hit you again." The police arrived in 8 minutes. Paramedics right behind them. They took Robert away in handcuffs. He kept saying he could explain. Kept saying I didn't understand. The police searched my house. Found a hidden key under a fake rock in my garden. A rock I had put there years ago in case I locked myself out. Robert had been using it to enter my house for months, maybe longer. They searched his house, found notebooks, pages and pages of notes about me, my routine, what time I went to bed, what I ate for breakfast, what shows I watched, photos. Hundreds of photos taken through my windows. Some of me sleeping, some dressing, some reading. Detective Williams sat with me in my kitchen while other officers processed the scene. "Mrs. May, how long have you known Robert?" 15 years. Since I moved here. Did you ever suspect anything?" I shook my head. "Never. He was always so kind. So helpful." "That's how they work," she said gently. "They build trust. Make themselves indispensable. Then they exploit it." She told me Robert had a history. In 1995, he was arrested for stalking a woman in another state. Served 2 years. Got out. Moved here. Clean record since then. Until now. How did he know so much about Edward Finch? I asked. Detective Williams looked confused. "Who?" "The plumber from the 80s. The one who broke into houses." She pulled out her phone. Looked it up. Her face went pale. Edward Finch was Robert's uncle. His mother's brother. Robert visited him in prison. Multiple times. Right up until he died. Everything clicked into place. Robert had learned from his uncle. Perfected the technique. He didn't just copy keys. He studied people. Learned their fears. Their routines. Their vulnerabilities. He whispered names to create fear. To make them doubt their sanity. To make them weak. The trial happened 4 months later. Robert pleaded guilty to breaking and entering, stalking, and criminal trespass. The prosecutor wanted more charges, but that's all they could prove. He got 6 years, maybe less with good behavior. During the trial, 3 other women came forward. Patricia's stories were true. Mrs. Chen, Sarah, and 2 others who hadn't told anyone. All of them had been victimized by Robert. All of them had heard their names whispered in the dark. The judge asked Robert why he did it, why he terrorized innocent women. Robert looked at me, directly at me, and smiled. "Because I could," he said. "Because they were alone and vulnerable and no one was protecting them. Because it made me feel powerful. That smile haunts me still. I sold my house 3 weeks after the trial ended. I couldn't stay there anymore. Every creak, every shadow, every sound made me jump. The house that had been my home for 15 years became a prison of fear. I moved into a secure apartment building. 24-hour security. Cameras everywhere. Neighbors close by. But I still don't sleep well. I still listen for whispers. Still check locks 3 times before bed. Still keep a bat next to my bed. The worst part? A month after I moved, I got a letter. From prison. From Robert it said, "May, I'm sorry you felt scared. I was only trying to be close to you. To know you. To be part of your life. You were so alone. I was helping you. Keeping you company. Making sure you were safe. You should thank me, not fear me. We could have been friends. We could have been more. But you ruined it. You swung that bat. You called the police. You destroyed everything. When I get out, I'll find you. Not to hurt you. Just to talk. To explain. To make you understand. We have a connection, May. You felt it too. I know you did. Wait for me." I showed the letter to Detective Williams. She filed a restraining order and added it to Robert's file. She said it proved he was still a threat. But restraining orders are just paper. They don't stop someone who's determined. I changed my name legally. May is gone. I'm someone else now. I don't tell new neighbors my real name. Don't make friends easily. Don't trust helpful strangers. Robert gets out in 4 years. Maybe 3 with good behavior. I'll be 71. Still living alone. Still vulnerable. Still afraid. But I'm smarter now. Stronger. I have alarms, cameras, neighbors who check on me, a phone that's always charged, a bat that's always close. And I never ever ignore whispers in the dark anymore. Because I learned something important through all of this. Evil doesn't always look like evil. Sometimes it looks like a friendly neighbor, a helpful stranger, a kind smile. Sometimes evil has a key to your house. Sometimes it knows your name. Sometimes it's been watching you for years, and you never knew. The other victims from the trial and I formed a support group. 7 of us. We meet once a month, share our stories, our fears, our healing. Mrs. Chen still can't sleep without pills. Sarah moved back in with her parents. Another woman, Linda, carries pepper spray everywhere. But we're surviving, learning to live again, slowly. Patricia died last year. Heart attack, natural causes. But I think the fear killed her first. She never felt safe again after learning the truth about Robert, about Edward, about how many years she had lived next to a predator without knowing. I think about her a lot, about how fragile safety really is, how quickly it can be shattered, how trust, once broken, can never be fully repaired. People ask me if I regret living alone for so long, if I wish I had moved in with my daughter years ago. Honestly, I don't know. I loved my independence, my privacy, my life. But was it worth this fear? This trauma? This permanent damage? I'm still figuring that out. What I do know is this. If you live alone, especially if you're older, especially if you're a woman, take precautions. Change your locks regularly. Don't hide keys outside. Install security cameras. Get to know your neighbors. But keep boundaries. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If you hear whispers, investigate. If you see shadows, turn on the lights. Don't dismiss your fears as paranoia, or old age, or loneliness. Because sometimes the whispers are real. Sometimes the shadows have faces. Sometimes the person you trust most is the person you should fear most. I was lucky. I fought back. I survived. Not everyone does. Detective Williams told me about cases where women weren't so lucky, where the whispers turned to violence, where the stalker became a killer. I could have been one of those statistics. One swing of the bat in the wrong direction, 1 second of hesitation, 1 moment of misplaced trust. But I wasn't. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm telling my story. And maybe, just maybe, my story will save someone else. Maybe someone reading this will recognize the signs, will change their locks, will trust their instincts, will swing the bat when they need to. That would make all of this worth it. Every sleepless night, every panic attack, every moment of fear. If my nightmare prevents someone else's, then it wasn't for nothing. My name was May. I'm 68 years old, and I survived the man who whispered my name in the dark. But the fear never really goes away. It just becomes something you learn to live with, like a scar that never quite heals. A reminder that safety is an illusion, trust is a gamble, and the only person you can truly rely on is yourself. Subscribe if you want more real stories.